Dave. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Thank you for having me. And I have to say, that was such a cool intro.
You deserve it. You deserve cool intros, man. Thanks for taking the time to
Thank you very much.
join us.
Very pleasant surprise. We were starting the stream. I think we were both sitting there, like looking out of the corner of our eyes, and we're like, "Oh shit! Hey guys, change the banners, change the lineup." But no, we're great to have you on. Like I said, I don't know if you heard, we were there. We go.
Andre last week while you were out, he shipped all these fun things. So more to come on this.
Andre doesn't stop shipping. I kind of saw those sitting down there, and I was kind of keeping my hands off of them for now. But I think that was a great time to use them. Awesome, man. Cap Money been growing. Cap Money, Cap Labs, Cap.
It's just Cap. Just Cap. Just Cap.
Just
no
Cap.
Cap. Just Cap. Yeah.
Just cap. No cap.
Cool. Well, Cap has been having a great year. See it all across my timeline. You guys have an awesome community. So congrats on
Thank
the launch.
you. I'm doing my job if you're seeing us on your timeline.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this is a full circle moment for us. We've had a few people I know in the community. I'll message them on Telegram and say, "Hey, we finally sat down with Cap. So go watch this." But for those that don't know, in the modern money scene, you guys sit at this very interesting intersection, with this marketplace, and very DeFi native while going towards this institutional crowd. I know you've done a lot of work on the ground trying to bridge that gap. Bring us into the moment that Cap is in, and really maybe what your past year has looked like, and really what the next year is going to look like.
Yeah, of course. To set the stage here, the evolution of stablecoins have been quite interesting the past 6 years. I mean, yeah, early on, we had all these different experiments. Some went well, some didn't. And we figured out what works and what didn't work. And you see with this evolution of stablecoins, you have things that are manual strategy, which is just like, just one strategy. So it could be either treasury bills or something else. Then you have like a lot of stablecoins that are manual allocation, where you have teams deciding like, oh, let's put it in this strategy. Let's put it in this firm. Let's see what happens. But with each of these, you have people managing things. It's all manual. It's really the first one that is autonomous allocation. And instead of relying on humans, you rely on markets to make the decisions. And with that, things are much more efficient. Things are less prone to conflicts of interest. And so at Cap, we're actually we're a credit platform that offers principal protection on all deposits and are powered by financial guarantees. Is what powers the entire marketplace of Cap. And what is this marketplace? It's a three-sided marketplace where you have depositors, borrowers, and underwriters. So the depositors, these are the people, the firms, the institutions. They mint our stablecoin cUSD with USDC, money market funds like WTGXX and soon other ones in the future. Then you have borrowers, and these borrowers are institutional grade borrowers. So right now we have Susquehanna borrowing from us. We have a bunch of others you can see on our dashboard there. And they have edge. They get yield for a living. They do it better than us, so we outsource it to them. And then you have underwriters, and underwriters backstop the entire system. In order for borrowers to access our system, they need to basically come to an agreement with underwriters. And so how the system works is underwriters and borrowers, they team up. The borrowers will say, hey, this is who we are. This is our strategy. And the underwriters go through the due diligence, not the team, not the depositors. It's the underwriter's responsibility to do that. And then they actually come to a legal agreement. And the underwriters, once they do the legal agreement, they vouch. They basically delegate their ETH, their BTC, or some other alternative asset, and they vouch for the borrower. And with that vouch, the borrower can access the underlying capital of Cap. So they can access that USDC and whatnot. They go ahead, they take out the loan, and they execute their strategy, the loan, and they pay fees to the underwriter, and those fees are anywhere between 2 to 4%. And then there I go. And then all the money they keep, they basically made at no cost of capital. So what's really interesting about Cap and what makes Cap unique is, in the eyes of the borrower, they just received an uncollateralized loan. But remember, because of the vouch from the underwriter in the eyes of the protocol, the loan is fully collateralized. So borrowers love it because they get uncollateralized loans. Underwriters love it because they're able to actually earn real yield for their ETH and BTC, 2 to 4% USD denominated, for vouching for the borrower. And users love it. The depositors love it for two reasons. The first reason is they're always protected from downside risk. So let's say a borrower, something happens and the borrower like runs off or something. It's the underwriter that takes the responsibility, that gets flashed, takes the responsibility, and they get penalized. And what gets penalized is sold back into the protocol. So depositors, principal protection, always protected from downside risk. And the second reason is I like to call CAP the infinite canvas of yield, because instead of relying on one strategy or relying on, like I said earlier, humans to decide where to go, it's markets deciding. And you have all these different borrowers with all these different strategies, and the marketplace is constantly shifting and allocating to the highest performing borrowers. So you really have this unique system that doesn't exist anywhere else. We launched in August of last year, and I think we're over 400 million TVL, and we have over, I think it's like 150 million in delegations and vouchers. So the system has, I think, hit PMF. It's growing. We're seeing people are noticing whether they're depositors, borrowers, and underwriters. And even through like we launched 9 months ago, and there's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And, we've not only survived, but we thrive in each of those downturns.
And
I think our protocol, yep. And so, yeah, I'll stop there.
no, I was just going to ask though. So we were just talking with AJ about USDAI and debt financing. What are borrowers using this capital for? I think I remember some market making, maybe some hedge fund strategies. Please correct me if I'm wrong. What do you want borrowers to be? I guess that's maybe not the right question, but there is the side of what do
actually a great question.
What do they want to do with the capital, and then what do you want them to do with the capital?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So right now we see a lot of market making hedge funds. People right now are using it for a revolving credits facility. So if they need loans on demand, they can just use CAP and access it. We see, a bunch of our borrowers do that. In the future, we would love to see, and we are going to see CAP really being used in the productive economy. So not just in crypto, but for all different types of use cases. So think LBOs, think like, specific industry financing, like where it's historically hard to get credit. So think supply chain finance, think film financing, all these different financing. So
this is an interesting chart here, just showing this right now in terms of the different assets in reserve and where they're sitting.
Yeah.
I like this visual here. You have like the borrow debt, Steakhouse, Gauntlet. Maybe speak to some of these. We were meeting with StableC, Tanner, and what they're building over there, and WTGXX. This is the Wisdom Tree product, correct? So how is this taking shape, and maybe like double click on this and what that means for potentially other folks like them? I'd imagine there could be many boxes on this side of the house.
Correct. So what you're seeing here is all the reserve assets of CAP. So we have like about half of our USDC being borrowed right now for borrowers for various different strategies. And then of course we have USDC and Morpho at the moment earning, that's our base rate. And then we have Wisdom Tree. So Wisdom Tree. So let me go back up a second. So you have stablecoins, and then you have tokenized money market funds. And these money market funds have been a regulated product for decades. They've been around, and they've been actually quite easy to plug into blockchain. And they've been around for the past half decade or so. And they've really been hitting a moment over the past few years. I think they've gone up over 3,000% over the past few years or something like that. And so you have different ones like BENJI, BlackRock, and Wisdom Tree. And what's cool about our integration with Wisdom Tree is that any Wisdom Tree customer, so they could be, regular institutions, could be individuals, they can access CAP through WTGXX. So if they want to access our yield, they're able to do that. And so this is us connecting to the real world, and this is the real world connecting to CAP and to DeFi and to on-chain finance. Yeah.
Super interesting. Are there other products that you would equate to other companies or other builders like Wisdom Tree that are taking similar approaches that you are wanting to work with or see doing similar things that could integrate into this?
Yeah, of course. So like I said, there's other money markets funds out there that are tokenized. You have BENJI from Franklin Templeton. You have BUIDL from BlackRock. You had JP Morgan. They just announced a tokenized money market fund. So basically any of these different traditional firms with money market funds that are tokenized, I would love to see them in cap in the future to access our capital.
You know, you're leading growth, right? You're having conversations with this entire marketplace.
Mhm.
How have those conversations changed from maybe, pre-launch, getting them on board pre-August 2025 to maybe people you're trying to invite into this marketplace now that you have this proof, right? Hey, this thing I was talking to you about a
Yeah.
year ago, like it's actually working. How has those conversations evolved and changed?
Yeah, another great question. So I think before Cap's launch, it was all about education and awareness and getting the word out there. And when it comes to awareness, you're not just competing with other DeFi protocols. You're not just competing with all crypto. You're competing with everything on the internet. Attention is scarce, especially nowadays. And so when you have a moment, there are like certain moments where you're able to get people's attention. Maybe it's a raise announcement, like in our raise announcement, we had Franklin Templeton lead our seed round along with a bunch of other fantastic firms that were part of our round. With those raise announcements, you're able to, you know, give people the one-liner of who you are. And so that's why like every like big announcement that you have a chance is so vital in education, whether it's the raise announcement, whether it's the launch, or whether it's like other big announcements. It's really important to get those things right and have your communication down pat. So a lot of education when it comes to announcements. And then also like just talking to people one on one, getting on phone calls, knowing who you're talking to, whether if it's a borrower, whether it's an underwriter, whether it's a depositor, whether it's an integration. Personally, for myself, I handle a lot of integrations when it comes to depositors. So talking to different neobanks, and it's a process because it's not like that they have other timelines, they have other priorities. So it's not going to be overnight, but I like to say be persistent but not pushy. That's the key to BD. Persistent but not pushy, because if you have a great product, it will just sell itself and you just kind of have to be a shepherd and guide it along. And I believe that CAP is one of those great products. And I'm just here to, be its guide.
There's a lot going on though, like for this to make sense and for people to, I'm sure those who you're talking with are native to this industry, especially how it looks off chain, or in the traditional world. I'm sure like it's a more familiar conversation. I'd imagine there are like
Mhm.
key blockers or like educational gaps though for them to make this conversion. Whether even those who might be already doing stuff on chain, like the names you mentioned, like what are some of those key hurdles or blockers or like points of misunderstanding or contention that you sometimes run into? Something that Zach and I really care about is like, how can we program the show better to educate in these ways so that, people who are doing what you're doing can, share this type of content, accelerate these types of deals. The stakes are high here, right? Like we've seen even in recent months, like it's hard to know who to trust and what's happening on the back end, especially like how these things are architected. So what does that look like today? And then like what type of content would be more helpful?
Yeah, I think for CAP, because we're a newer protocol. It's all about establishing Lindy. So we've been around for 9 months. So we've been around for a bit, but still like, a bit more time would be helpful just for our case. And like I said, it's all about being persistent, keeping in contact with all these different leads, whether they're neobanks, borrowers, or underwriters. Neobanks in particular are quite interesting because their end user is different than your native crypto native user. I like to call your crypto native users your first followers. They're not afraid to get on chain. They're not afraid to be the first to try a protocol. They're willing to take the risk. But when it comes to these neobanks, you have a lot of everyday people who may not have a wallet, who, may not have the same crypto native experience as a lot of people we consider crypto native. And so them, it really matters less of like what which what protocols are in the back end. It's just that it's safe and that it works. And so with CAP, our main selling points are, hey, we always have marginally better yield than the T-bill rate and then the base rate because of that the borrowers that we have. There's always going to be a little bit higher yield, and also we have principal protection. So, and like I said earlier, everybody's protected from downside risk because of the underwriters. So we have a lot of unique selling points. And you can just go to our website, you can go to our dashboard, you can see the performance over time. We're always between like 5 and 7% APY. And so we're performing the numbers that the neobanks want. We offer the protection that the neobanks want. And that's why we're here.
I got one last question for you. Oh, let's go ahead,
Mhm.
Drew.
The programmatic nature of this seems really unique and new in terms of like removing humans from the loop in the routing and efficiency of selection and management. It seems like that is a very, very unique part of this. I wanted to just double down on what that looks like practically and maybe some of those things that you've built on getting this three-sided platform to work and perform versus maybe like how others have structured it. That seems really unique to you guys.
Yeah, I like to think that CAP is really built in the spirit of the crypto ethos, is really built in the spirit of Ethereum, where we rely on smart contracts than people. We rely on code. We rely on protocols, not promises. We rely on code much more than others, and so that's what makes us unique. And we're really this programmable credit platform powered by these financial guarantees, which offers these protections and offers this type of allocation strategy for our users.
Go ahead, Zach.
I was gonna ask. I was looking at your LinkedIn, and I think I was going all the way back to you had interned at a media company. You did Bitcoin for plebs. You've just have this rich like DeFi kind of just origin story kind of accumulating
Yeah,
to cap, and it looks like you even spent some time more on the media side and kind of have bounced back and forth. I mean, how has your thesis around DeFi and on-chain capital markets evolved over the years? And obviously cap probably gets you excited this year. What about the future of on-chain finance gets you excited?
yeah, it's been quite a journey. I've been in crypto for 9 years. I've been doing DeFi stuff for the past six, but I've always been writing. Writing's really the basis of my career. I feel like I learned through writing and through talking to people. And how my thesis has always been the entire world will come on chain. It's just a matter of what it looks like and how it happens. I think what's really interesting over the past year or 2 years is how much institutions have truly gone into the fold. The institutions have been here for a while. They've been experimenting, playing around. Uh, their blockchain strategies have usually been a smaller part of their organizations, but now as we receive regulatory clarity, no pun intended, over the past few years, they're really going all out. They're really going 100%, pushing on the pedal to integrate blockchain technology into their regular core business. Like look at JP Morgan, they have these tokenized deposits that are over like $1 trillion, and they're able to do like interbank transfers with those. And so I think how my thesis has changed is, you know, with institutions much more in the fold and that their capital coming on board, you're probably going to see the industry change a bit. And we have in terms of the nature of participants, the nature of, how different protocols function. And you're going to see a split. So you're going to see, I think Mert project put it together really nicely between efficient finance and alternative finance. Efficient finance is basically institutions using our technology to make their core business more efficient, to make their business, to help their core business basically in their bottom line. And then you have alternative finance, and I see that I wrote about this in January, but I see things like privacy becoming more into the fold and things that we traditionally think as the crypto ethos really coming up front. And I feel like the last bastion of that is privacy, which is why you see things like
Mhm.
Zcash really take off. And so I think there'll always be that spirit of like what we think of as crypto that that we thought of in like 2017 and 2021. The spirit's still with us. With in certain areas. Yep, that's it. Privacy and the cyberpunk revival. And I think what's really beautiful about crypto and how we get to play with our identity. Shout out Satoshi, the first Anon. And like the fact that we can choose like how we're identifying what we're called, because it's really a matter of safety. Because when you hold your own keys, that's a big responsibility instead of relying on an intermediary. And so there is a reason why like anons exist. It's not something to like play around with because like, oh, it's, but yeah, I guess like I'm like half anon because I do have a LinkedIn. I have my real name out there, but it's like
Yeah.
nice to just like have an identity, like to put on this mask as DeFi Dave, as I work in this industry, and then I can just be Dave outside of it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
Any
There.
shills for the recent media on Cap? Looks like you guys started a podcast or you're doing some new stuff there. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have the Cap Room going, and in that podcast hosted by me, we like to highlight our partners and what we're doing. And I like to think of it as, if somebody wants to look up information about how cap works or what a partnership looks like, whether it's something around like a borrowing strategy, whether it's something around our safety measures and precautions, they can just go to our podcast. And another thing I like to do, and like I can show more clips and whatnot. And another thing I like to think of is with AI and bots and GEO out there, they're going to be looking for information about cap. And so I would, just like put in our transcript and put in our transcript, make a description and make it basically readable for these bots. So there's a two-pronged strategy in there for both research, SEO, and GEO.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole. I think I was gonna say, Drew's sitting here like, I hate that you brought this up right now, and now we're gonna have to wrap.
Let's talk more about that.
That'll have to be part
offline.
2 to our conversation. You should talk to, have you talked to the Royal.io team?
No, not yet.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Talked, yeah.
That could be interesting. I think Zach cut out.
No, my mic unplugged, so I was scrambling. That's what this searching for. What did you say to the Royal team?
Yeah, I think they're thinking about similar things.
Yeah. Worth talking to Michael from there. He was just he'll probably be on the show, and he was just on tokenized as well, I think. So you guys would probably enjoy a conversation around that topic and discoverability as well.
Cool. Shout out Royal.
Dave, any final thoughts from your side? I know this was a quick hit bouncing around on cap, where people go, what you're getting excited about. Indoor SIGs, it looks like, is a big one, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, see, that's Eve Bushwick. That's a whole nother conversation. But with cap, if you want to learn more about us, go to cap.app. You can follow us at cap app. You can follow me at DeFi Dave. And yeah, we're the next evolution of stablecoins. It's here. It's ready. It's ready for the big time. It's ready for institutions. And if you want to come along, enjoy the ride, just go follow us.
Awesome.
There we go.
Shout out freedom.
Shout out freedom. Dave, thanks for the time, man.
Thank you for having me, guys. Have a good day.